I went to a different gym than I normally do this morning, so it put me close to a Goodwill that I've been to a couple of times to source, and I decided to drop by there to see if I could find anything, with the idea that I would just go to another thrift store afterwards if they didn't have anything good. However, I went in and I saw they had a lot of DVD players, VCRs stacked up on top of each other, which they typically do. Usually a lot of electronics and Goodwills. So I looked up a few. I mentioned in a few past videos that I dabbled in VCRs and DVD players. Sold about 4 or 5 of them. So I decided to look some of them up. I'm back into electronics. I bought 3 VCRs. Got them for $24. All 3. And I got 2 CDs. It is a Goodwill, and I figured I'm gonna need to look at multiple items to find enough to make it worth it. So I looked up a few, and lo and behold, the first one I looked up, which I believe was a Sony, was ranked 107 and selling for starting at $99. And it was starting at $99, and there were 3 FBA offers. So that was pretty exciting. And I looked up a couple more, and lo and behold, I found 2 others that were worth buying. So they were going for, one was going for $7 or $6.99, and the others were going for $7.99. And the other 2 were going for, or starting at $90, and then the other one $120. And those were the only FBA offers on those listings. And the rankings were, a little higher on there was 22,000 on one, and the other one was a little bit higher. I think it was, I can't remember exactly, but it was maybe like 60,000 or something. So I wasn't too scared by those rankings. I looked them up, and on Camel, and even the higher one is selling. It's not selling a ton, but because there's just not a lot up there, but it is selling. And a couple of the VCRs I sold before took a few months to sell, 3 or 4 months. I think one of them even. I make so much more profit off of them. They sell for so much more money that it's worth it. So I was super excited, and that's $24. So that's $24 for those 3 items. And using the FBA calculator, based upon the lowest FBA prices currently, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to go with those lowest prices or what it may be, whatever it may be, but I probably will stick to those prices. That after all fees, so this is inbound shipping, and this is, when it's sold, so they're going to charge more because it's a bigger item and it weighs a little bit more, but they're not so heavy, but weigh a little bit more than clearly most books or CDs or VHS tapes. So even after all of that, cumulative, and this includes what I bought, my profit would be about roughly about $215 or so. So this is after the cost of goods. So that's pretty good. $24 into about $215. It's almost 10 times. That's the good thing about this. Even though you're spending $7, $8 per item versus spending 50 cents to $1 per book, you can potentially make a lot of profit off of these items. Now, clearly there's lots of books that go for 80 or go for 90, 100, $120, but those aren't always as abundant. At least they're not for me. I don't find them as often. So I look at these as kind of expensive books that are just a little bit bigger and require a little bit more prep. So that was exciting. I'm just gonna have to clean them up, test them. I was able to plug them in at Goodwill. That's the other thing you're probably thinking. I was able to plug them in at Goodwill. I took a VHS tape that they have, put it in, played it, fast forward, rewind, eject, all of that worked. Of course, I still have to hook it up to a TV to make sure it's working fine. But based upon my limited experience with this, I didn't have any issues with VCRs in the past, but I did have an issue with one DVD player. So I skipped on the DVD players for now, just because I had a little bit more issues, and those can be a little bit more temperamental than the VCRs. Kind of like the tapes, unless you crush them or break them, they should work. Most VHS tapes work for me a really high percentage when I test them at home. I'll test them at home and make sure they work. Fingers crossed. I'm pretty confident they will. But if they don't, this Goodwill has a exchange policy. Actually, I could take it to any Goodwills around town. It's a 7-day exchange policy, so that's great, 7 days, so I can test them and make sure they work. If they work, great. If one of them doesn't work, I can exchange it. The only annoying thing is I have to exchange it that day, so I can't say, oh, well, now you have a couple more days to come back, whatever. So whatever they have in the store that day, I need to exchange it for. If I can't find anything, that sucks. I'm gonna have to buy something. But hopefully I don't have to go that route. I'm pretty sure that they'll work. So that's great. 3 items, potentially a little over $200 in profit. and that didn't take very long at all. And that's why I like these electronics. So, like I was saying, I'm gonna go home, clean them up, test them out. What I like to do is put some bubble wrap around them, make sure the bubble wrap is around the whole thing, and then stick the sticker on them, put them in the box, done. I'm just gonna package them nice in the box so that they're not right up against the edge, but even if it is, it's in bubble wrap, so it should be fine. I haven't had any issues before, so I'm not too worried about that. This is just another way to diversify your inventory and to look for items that cost a little bit more to acquire, but can go for bigger profits. Even though the return on investment is potentially similar with books, 8 to 10 times what I spent, the payout is potentially larger than most books. It's a nice way to diversify. And of course, they didn't have very many good CDs to resell, and they had no books to resell. They hardly had any books anyway. Another thing is, I tested out the FBA Scan app. I actually had downloaded it a long time ago, just was fooling around with it. But this time I took the 30-day free trial. I have access to unlimited live searches and the downloadable database. So I'm just using the live searches just to test out the display and everything to see how it works and if I'm comfortable with it and if I like it. So the one thing that I like the most is that I can access camel really quickly. Honestly, that's the thing I like the most. The scanning part, it scans pretty fast, and I'm using my phone. So it basically you just put it right over the barcode and instantly, sometimes it doesn't even have to see the whole barcode. It just grabs half of it and it's fast to display the information. One thing I really don't like about it is it doesn't show the ratings or the reviews. And that's something that, I don't know if you take that into consideration, but that's part of the whole puzzle for me. When I look it up on the Amazon Seller app, I look at the sales rank, I look at the reviews, and I look at the FBA offers. How many FBA offers are there, and what's the lowest? If I see $3.99, $4.99, $6.99 for FBA offer, I'm usually going to pass unless it's the only one, or that the other factors look good, like the MF prices, the rank, a lot of reviews, good reviews, that sort of thing. So the reviews aren't the most important thing, but it's important to me, and it's a part of how I'm able to get a better picture of it. So that I don't like at all. And I'm just not familiar with the display and the screen and all the colors and whatnot, so that's just gonna take getting used to, but it just felt weird using it, but it was okay. So the other thing I didn't like is with the Amazon app, it immediately shows the lowest FBA offer and how many overall FBA offers, where with this one, it doesn't tell you how many FBA offers. It's most of the time shows the lowest one, but sometimes doesn't, which means you have to click through. So I like on the Amazon app just to immediately look and see the lowest FBA offer, because I can usually just make a decision based off of that after looking at the sales rank, the reviews, the MF prices, how many FBA offers, that sort of thing. So I'm not actually that impressed with it, to be honest. So we'll see. I know that if I get a Bluetooth scanner, it'll be quicker to scan, but that wasn't always my thing or my issue. Mostly just to have a backup to Amazon, but this would be $40 a month, whereas I could do Profit Bandit for $10 a month. Of course, the downloadable database is nice when I have weak internet, but I rarely do. I mean, I went in the Walmart yesterday, but I never go to the Walmart. I'm just not in the Walmarts or retail stores very often. I think that was just kind of for whatever reason, that particular spot was bad for internet connection, but usually it's fine. I think there's just an issue with the Amazon app when it just keeps on working and doesn't actually show the result. And I found that I just have to work around it by going to favorites and etc., what I talked about the other day. And that's all a pain in the butt, but I don't know if it's worth $40 a month to have the downloadable database and I have to deal with that. And I understand it just kind of deals with it completely. When you have the downloadable database, you don't ever have to worry about a connection. And then if you add the Bluetooth scanner in the mix, then it's super fast. Super fast scanning, super fast results, and no worry about internet connection. I get it, I do. But I'm stubborn and sometimes illogical, and I don't want to have to pay the extra $40 a month. I guess it's not the $40 a month, but it kind of is, because I don't overall have a big problem with the Amazon app. It's just this recent issue, and it's not that big of a deal. And I don't source that much. If I were sourcing every day, this would become a pain in the butt, and I would definitely need the downloadable database and probably the Bluetooth scanner to make everything go faster. We'll see. I don't want to get in this whole conversation again, because I understand the logic and I understand everyone's thinking, and that, you know, I'm losing money and time is money and this, that, and the other thing. But we'll see. It all has to feel right for me, and that's just how I work. I'm logical a lot of the times, and then sometimes I'm not when it comes to things, and also money has to do with it. Not that I can't afford the $40 a month. Clearly, I can afford it with the Amazon payouts I'm getting. Is it going to make that big of a difference? Maybe. But most of the places that I source, I don't have an issue with the Amazon app, or I don't have an issue with the internet connection, I should say. So we'll see. I'll keep on testing it. I have 30 days, and maybe I'll change my mind and I'll go for it. So we'll see how it goes. This was a good Goodwill sourcing trip, and I'm glad to get back into the electronics. So hopefully they work. I'll send them in as soon as I can and flip those. Be on the lookout for that stuff. If you don't mind the process, it's not too much of a big deal. Kind of look at it as with CDs or with vinyl, where I do anyway, test them, clean them up. Well, I haven't sent in vinyl yet, but you know, I'll have to test them and clean them up and package them and that sort of thing. So that's all part of it. And as long as it makes sense financially, then why not diversify, and why not have more things that you can source when you're out there? Because sometimes there's no books, or there's very few CDs, and you have to kind of look for other things. It's a good idea to diversify, that's for sure. Hopefully you're finding some good stuff today, or sending in a shipment, or clearing out your inventory of dead books. I've been doing that. Got a couple more days at it, and get out as many as you can, or reprice. And as always, remember, keep booking.